Welcome to business, where you get to make a million decisions, and most of them, are they actually good decisions or bad decisions? Well, you don't actually know until after the fact, which means that you could have spent money, you could have spent time, you could have wasted a lot of both of those resources. So how do you know how to make decisions? Well, I'm gonna give you a really cool filter at the end of this video that's going to help you make decisions when you don't absolutely know what the answer is. But when you use this filter, your chances and your intentions are going to get you closer to the business that you've always dreamed of. So the question we're gonna talk about today is, should I be collecting money up front, or should I charge them after I perform the service? So when I got into the cleaning business, I actually came from the fitness industry. And in the fitness industry, it was very much, we charge a client up front, because if we don't charge a client up front, guess what happens? Well, they don't pay, or they don't show up. And so when it came into the cleaning business, I was like, hey, well, this is the way that I used to do it. But then I started to question, and I was like, does that actually serve me in this specific model? Because in the fitness business, it was a done with you service, which means that we did the service with the client. But in the cleaning business, it's a done for you model, which means that the client does absolutely nothing, and us as the business, we do all the work. And so I was like, maybe there's a little bit different of a value proposition there, that the client feels more obligated to actually pay for the service once they've got it, rather than the fitness industry, they very much felt like when they got the service, it was like, yeah, I could have done that myself, and I don't really feel obligated to pay for it. So when I first started selling, I was like, oh, I'm not sure about this. I just said, yes, we'll show up, and I just was waiting to see what happened. And lo and behold, 2.5 years later, it has been the best decision that I've ever made, because how many times has it burned us? Less than 5 times that people have not actually paid their invoices, which means that I created less resistance on the front end, not charging them up front, but actually doing the service first, showing them that we could actually perform the service, and not saying, you know what, I don't trust you, Mr. New Client. And so because I don't trust you, I need to collect your payment information up front, and maybe I might even need to charge you up front as well, right? And so I put myself in the mind of my customer, right? If I'm on a phone call with a new business and I've never had done business with before, I found them from the internet, whether it be a Facebook ad or whether it be a Google ad, that I'm not quite sure if they're trustworthy or not. And then the moment that they start asking me to make commitments up front, I start to feel like maybe I shouldn't trust them because they don't trust me. And so while I recognized that, I was like, okay, let me just trust the prospect, and also at the same time be okay with the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is, there's actually 2 worst case scenarios. The first worst case scenario is that I should perform the service and they don't freaking pay for it. Oh my gosh. Guess what? Is this a reality? Is this a possibility? Absolutely. Does this happen often? No. But why does it even happen the few times that it does happen? Well, the reality is, in our business, the only time that this has ever happened is because we didn't actually perform the service that the client thought that they were going to get. Was this a communication error? Absolutely. Was it our fault? It definitely could have been. Was it their fault? Absolutely could have been as well. But whose responsibility is it? It's ours as the business. Even if it's not our fault, it's still our responsibility. So, has this happened before? Yes. How many times? Less than 5 times. We've done thousands and thousands of cleans. Am I willing to play those odds every single time? Well, the second worst case scenario is that the client, they cancel last minute, and you don't have a payment card on file to enforce your cancellation policy, which you should have as well, which is something along the lines of like, we're going to charge you for a percentage, will it be 50% or something, to protect our cleaners from now the work that they don't have because you canceled last second, we can't fill the schedule. Is that a possibility? Absolutely. Does it happen often? More often than people not paying for their service, but does it happen often? I would say no. But why does this happen? The expectation, the commitment level that the salesperson made the client commit to was very, very low. And so think about this from a friendship point of view. Would you inconvenience yourself to make sure that you keep the relationship, to keep the respect, to keep your ability to be able to communicate with them? Yes, of course. Now, do you have other people in your life who you don't know, who you're like, you don't mind if you inconvenience them? Of course not, right? And so on the front end, you need to try to make this person a friend. And so the more of the standard you can set with, the deeper the relationship you can connect with them, the less likely they are to cancel on you last second. Also, communicate, like when you sold them versus when they actually did their clean, like how much did you communicate with them in between? Did you give them opportunities to cancel before? Did you say, hey, just so you know, we have this cancellation policy. Did you talk about it more than once? What I've seen, what I've observed is that most people, they say a thing one time and then they expect people to know it. Maybe that you said it in your head 100 times. Maybe you said it 1,000 times. Maybe you said it 1,000,000 times. But you know how many times that your prospect has heard it? Once. And really, you said it once. Did they actually hear it once? Probably not. People have to hear things over and over and over again. If you have kids, you know this. You literally have to tell them the same thing over and over again. And they're like, I choose not to listen to this. And then finally one day, they're like, you know what, Pops? Thank you for telling me that yesterday. You're like, I've been telling you this for years. You just now heard me? But that's actually how humans work. So what actually happens when they do cancel, right? So again, our number one goal is we need to protect our cleaners. And so what we do is we have a wait list of clients who are like on call, that if a last minute cancellation happens, that we can do our best to fill the schedule. That's a strategy that we use to protect ourselves from last minute cancellation. Does it always work? No. Does it work some of the time? Yes. Now, another thing that we'll do is we'll move a cleaner So we have top cleaners and we have lower cleaners, lower tier cleaners, or maybe it's even newer cleaners. And so to protect our top cleaners, the people who have been around, the people who produce the most, if one of their cleans get canceled, we'll move one of our lower tier cleaners, we'll take them off a clean, and we'll give that clean to our top tier cleaner to protect them. Because our number one goal is to keep our best cleaners around, and how we're able to determine which cleaners are top and which ones are lower and how do we rank them is we actually have scorecards. So if you're part of the masterclass, which you should be because it's free, Building $1 Million Cleaning Business Masterclass, be part of that. You go to loganscleaningco.com, and inside under the recruiting section, there are scorecards, which shows you how to actually rate your cleaner. That is the goal of the business, right? Because if you don't have cleaners, well, then how are you going to be able to service your clients? Lastly, right? So when you're making decisions in your business, decisions like, should I collect payment information up front or should I charge them afterwards? I like to think of everything through this one filter, right? And this one filter has helped me so much in my business is, am I thinking about this from the customer's point of view, or am I thinking about this from the business's point of view? And when I'm able to focus on the customer, I start to make better decisions. And what I realize is that when I am customer focused, it actually benefits the business as well. If you got any value from this, let me know. Comment down below. Tell me your thoughts. What do you do? Are you somebody who charges up front? Are you somebody who charges on the back end? If you do one or the other and you want to switch, I want to know your thoughts as well. All right. And if you get value from this, please share it with another cleaning business owner or another business owner who could benefit from this information. All right, let's go.